she'll be another year and a half or so after.
Yeah. She did. Yeah.
I think it's like one next couple of days.
I didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's some of those. Yeah. Yeah.
This is just a mission statement. Yeah, I could probably do it. I think I've only got XLR out. I'd have to look at it.
There you go. I'll give you.
He's upstairs, I think.
All right, I will call the November meeting of the Decatur County Area Plan Commission to order. Dustin has a few housekeeping notes from Rangeburg High School.
Yeah, we apologize for the lights being out. We had power outage yesterday and lost all the house lights in the auditorium. But just so you're aware, emergency exits, well, exits in general in the back, 2 on the side over here that go out. You can exit out that way. Emergency exits over here and another one backstage over here. And if we needed to shelter because of a weather situation, the restrooms right out here or the locker rooms that are just, if you exit out the back and go to the left, are emergency shelters. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Just a couple housekeeping items on our end. Per
Okay, here he is.
Decatur County Commissioners, Kim Wortman.
Very hard.
Housekeeping
Hard, thank you.
housekeeping items from our end. Per Decatur County Commissioners, Tim Ortman is serving as interim director for the area plan. He will be taking care of signing the surveys and handling office duties until a new director can be hired. With that being said, we will start our meeting. And you all mailed the minutes from the August meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Have a first and second to approve the minutes as mailed. Any discussion? Not hearing any? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. One other housekeeping thing, there are some Title VI forms in the back of the room if anyone wants to complete the anonymous survey. With that being said, we will get started with APC petition 2024-17. Westport Wesleyan Church, Jeffrey Moore is requesting to rezone approximately 3.9067 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a church. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Article 9-925. The property is owned by the Westport Wesleyan Church and is located at 601 East Main Street, Westport, in Sand Creek Township. Mr. Moore,
Yes, sir.
explain your project here and let us know what's going on.
So ultimately, the project is Westport Wesleyan's been in Westport for since 1915. We have outgrown our current facility. We bought that property about 4 acres over at 601 East Main, which is in the city limits of Westport. And there's lots of properties built around it, but the zoning hasn't caught up with that. All that out there is still zoned A1, even though there's lots of houses built on it. So when we came to pull permits to build the church, the first step they says we needed to make sure that it complied with Decatur County ordinance. And to build a church in Decatur County, it has to be in an A2. So we're asking to go from an A1 to an A2.
Looks like the Westport Town Council has reviewed and granted approval for these requests, so that part of it's taken care of. Westport Water is good with it. Any questions or comments from the board members? Any questions or comments from adjoining property owners? Not hearing any, I will look for a motion.
Make a motion to accept petition 2024-17.
What am I signing?
yes. Paul Stanley votes yes. Scott Smith votes yes. Sheila Kirkhoff votes yes. Todd Malley votes yes. Brad Sheedy votes yes. And one out.
So your petition does carry. Stay in contact with the office as you go through the building process. This is just the first step, so congratulations and good
Thank
luck
you.
with the church building. Moving on, APC petition 2024-18. Brian Swearing is requesting to subdivide approximately 2.5 acres out of an 80-acre and rezone approximately 2.5 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification for the construction of a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Article 9, 920-7, and 915. This property is owned by Shirk Winwood Incorporated and is located just south of 3601 North County Road 200 East, Greensburg, Indiana, in Washington Township. Mr. Swearing?
Yes, sir.
Just explain what you're looking to do here and
We want to rezone 2.5 acres. It's in the corner of an 80-acre tract. It's rough ground, hilly, with the woods around most of it, a creek running through it. And we'd like to rezone it to eventually build a house on it.
the one map I had, Brian, actually showed it on the west side of the road, but I assume it's on the east side of the road.
No, it's on the west side.
On the west side, like where you grew up over on that side.
No, the road between there, on 200. Yeah, I farm the rest of the farm, but we've never farmed that corner up there. It's not really good for much of anything else.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? Anything from adjoining property owners? Not hearing any, I will look for a motion.
I'll second the motion, 2024-18.
Have a first and second. We will take a vote.
Brad Sheedy votes yes. Todd Malley votes yes. Sheila Kirkhoff votes yes. Scott Smith votes yes. Paul Stone votes yes. Jay Shetler votes yes. Tom Cherry votes yes. Ryan Pinelli votes yes.
All right, your petition carries. Stay in contact with the office through the building process, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Moving on, APC petition 2024-19, Donald and Kathy Books requesting to subdivide approximately 4.2 acres out of a 34.828 acres and rezone approximately 2.99 acres out of the approximately 4.2 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification for construction of a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Article 9, 920-7, and 915. The property is owned by the petitioners and is located at 1852 North County Road 80 Northeast, Greensburg, Indiana, Washington Township. Don, take to the mic and tell us what your project entails here.
Well, just to build a smaller home, so me and my wife, we had 6 children, we don't have 6 at home anymore, so anyway, just looking to build a smaller home and try to set it up. I'm 74, it's getting to be quite a bit to take care of, and something for the wife later.
Looks like on the evaluation sheet, the septic and everything's been approved. The highway department's been there, so. Questions or comments from board members? If nothing from the board, I will look for adjoining property owners.
I'm Brian Keith. My wife and I are adjoining property owners. We both support Don and Kathy's petition and fit right into the neighborhood out there. So,
Thank you, Brian.
Any other questions or comments from board members or adjoining property owners? If not, we will look for a motion.
Make a motion to accept petition 2024-19.
Have a first and second for the motion. 2024-19. We will move on to ABC petition 2024-20. Oh, sorry. Yep, Don. Your petition does carry. Stay in contact with the office.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, ladies. Thank you. Now we will move on to ABC petition 2024-20. Patrick Grau is requesting to subdivide approximately 2.99 acres out of an 18.907 acre and rezone approximately 2.99 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification for construction of a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Article 9, 920-7, and 915. The property is owned by the petitioner and is located at 1878 East County Road 820 South, Greensburg, Indiana, Marion Township. Mr. Grau?
Evening. So basically my wife and I own the 2 adjoining parcels. In this particular instance, we're looking to build a 60 by 40 pole barn with temporary living quarters in it, approximately 800 square feet. We plan on living in that for 2 or 3 years while we build our permanent structure on the other parcel. After that's been completed, we're going to keep the residents in the 60 by 40 as kind of an in-law suite guest house type thing in storage. So we're requesting to rezone it.
Questions or comments from the board members?
Have you seen the drawing? Is that how it's going to be surveyed off? The sketch I have just shows it inside the red lines, and it seems like we've got some just narrow strips of land around it and out by the road. I'm assuming you own all of it.
Yeah, we have 44.5 acres total. This particular parcel is the 18, the front field where we plan on building, and then the 2 additional fields in the back.
And I just don't know if it should square up with the side line if it was ever sold off.
That line to the west, which would be the bottom of that map, is actually the floodplain. It's right on the creek.
Well, I
So
mean,
he's probably trying to stay on that.
well, as far as that goes, I'm just saying those lines maybe should continue to the west and just square that corner up versus having something that's sold off and you've got whatever to the west is in the floodplain and small areas. I'm just asking the question if our board should consider that. Or if you're open to that, but
The lines were just drawn as a rough area based off of the floodplain on GIS. We actually have a survey scheduled through Shoaley's on Friday this week where it'll be more squared off and direct for the 2.99.
so what do you think, Andy?
Is the driveway going to come in down by the creek?
No, it's going to be basically where it starts to narrow out on that drawing. I think it's 300 feet on the other side, or that side of the bridge there across the creek. And then it's kind of split dead even in the center part of that parcel on that road frontage. So originally County Highway had come out and inspected where our driveway was going to be and then approved it. When we went to apply for this permit, we were told by the office that it needed to be done through the town of Millhousing, which we did get the letter from the town of Millhousing approving the location as well, because it sits on a hill.
With the topography and the floodplain, I mean, I think that's the best spot. I mean, even if it doesn't touch that west line, because there's already an existing residence on the 44 acres.
Correct.
So this would have to be a completely new parcel of, however many acres it makes it, 4 or 5 acres, and then rezone to 2.99.
My thought was the residence, and if it was surveyed off as drawn, the residence would own all the way around it other than maybe that 50-foot strip out by the road.
I guess it depends on how many acres you want to, if you wanted to include that strip over to the west boundary line as part of the property where your house is sitting, but still include the hillside.
Are you talking about the house that's currently on the parcel right now? Which house are you referring to?
Your new.
The new one?
I think you're talking about Golden Road.
No, we didn't have it.
To the corner, so the southwest.
What he's
corner
talking about
drive
is this strip over here. Like if you took this property line over and just made this one piece of property.
Yeah,
This way, you're not leaving that, even though that's in a floodplain, you're still going to be building up here.
That's fine.
I didn't know.
Okay.
If it needs more, we were just told at 2.99, so I just went on Beacon and went.
You can make this 5 acres. 2.99 is only where the house has to sit.
Oh, yeah, then whatever needs to be done.
Not telling him how to cut it, where to put it, we need 50 foot of road frontage, and he needs to know, do we think that's a suitable place for a residence? That's it. That's out of our call. That's not what we're really trying to decide or recommend to the commission.
Sorry for being off base.
Are you good?
I'm good.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? If not, I'll look for adjoining property owners. If we have we got the adjoining property owners. I will look for a motion.
Move to be voted on ABC application 2024-20.
First and second for application 2024-20.
Brian Smith votes yes. Tom Terry votes yes. Jay Shetland votes yes. Paul Stone votes yes. Sheila Kirkhoff votes yes. Scott Smith votes yes. Todd Miller votes yes. And Brad Sheedy votes yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Grout. Your petition passes. Stay in contact with the office as you go through the building process. And good luck.
Thank you, board, appreciate it.
That brings us to the end of our agenda, so unless somebody else has anything, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourn, say aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and begin our BZA meeting for tonight, November 6th. Begin the meeting, there are Title VI forms in the back.
Is willing to and wants to complete the anonymous survey.
Rick, can you pull that closer?
I can, yes.
Sorry.
Is that better? Okay, we'll begin with approval of the minutes for the July 24th meeting. You all should have received the minutes. Any additions?
No.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion that we accept it as read and as sent to us.
I'll second.
We got a motion and a second to accept the minutes from the July 24th meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes approved. We'll now look for a motion or comments on the August the 7th minutes. Any comments or additions or corrections to those?
No.
I'll look for a motion.
I make the
Move that we
motion.
accept the August 7th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those are those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Accept the minutes. Okay, first item on the agenda tonight, BZA petition 2024-8. Genex Solar and Colby Solar is requesting a special exception for the construction of a commercial solar energy facility. The request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Article 20. Let me begin the meeting by saying this will be an informational only meeting. We will not be holding a vote tonight. As far as the agenda for this evening, the petitioner will present for a period of 30 to 45 minutes. We'll then follow that with the landowners within of the petition for an additional 15. After which we will open the comments to the public, and at that time we will entertain our 3-minute limit on those comments. The board does reserve the right to extend that time frame if there's pertinent information that interests us. We will still be holding to our 10 o'clock stop time, and we'll hold to that. So with that being said, you guys have the floor.
No, you're fine.
Plenty of copies. This is some supplemental submissions. This includes the slide deck we showed.
Thank you.
All right, is this on? Can everyone hear me all right?
Yep.
Louder?
Yep.
I'll be brief and quickly hand this off to Wayne. My name is Matt Newman. I'm an attorney at Krieg DeVault. I'm here on behalf of Project, the project tonight, Project Cobia. Appreciate the BZA being here. Appreciate our dialogue prior to this, with Attorney Scholl. Appreciate the recent TAC meeting we had, which allowed the project to get some insights into how this process will play out. Appreciate the clarifications at the top about how there won't be a vote tonight. And wanted to kind of note for the record that the project is in the process of scheduling a meeting with other county officials to get into some of the particulars, part of the application, including road use agreement, including economic development agreement if that opportunity and that dialogue ensues, including decommissioning. So I don't believe, I'll let Wayne speak to that when he takes over in a second, but I don't believe that's been scheduled formally, but I do hope that we have that circled on the calendar soon so we can engage in that dialogue. I also want to point out, I believe the county has retained Baker Tilly and is in the process of having them perform some financial analysis about the project. I understand that retention is sort of still underway, so it's our hope with the process that's getting underway tonight and will extend to future meetings that will allow Baker Tilly to kind of deepen its analysis, and I can't say whether Baker Tilly will present tonight, but my hope is they're given an opportunity to present tonight or at a future meeting. And with that, the process you outlined tonight was exactly right. 30 minutes from the project, 15 minutes from the participating landowners. We'll then transition to the public participation. Debbie, I think you have the list. Are we about 30 or so people participate? Is that right?
On the land?
Yeah. No, on just general public sign up. I asked at the back.
We have that list up here. We'll cover that. Thank you.
So whether it's at this meeting or at a future meeting, for the project's sake, we want to formally request an opportunity for rebuttal, whether that be tonight. Depending on the extent of public participation, we're happy to present that rebuttal at whatever time makes sense. And in terms of, in light of where you started, which is that there won't be a vote tonight, where the project's open to as much as we can. We have, a question mark up there to try to pencil in when the next meeting might be. So I don't think it's necessarily natural to do it at the top of this meeting, but at the end, happy to circle back to that if that's helpful. But with that, I will hand it over to Wayne. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. It's a pleasure to certainly be here. We appreciate the opportunity to be in this forum to present Cobia Solar we filed with the Area Plan Commission on August 30th, 2024. As you are uniquely aware from the 3 binders that accompany the filing and the available details related to our filing, we are represented tonight by our project team and subject matter experts who accompany us here in the room. Mentioned here that we filed in August. Took us a few months to get here, which we're certainly fine with. But these efforts commenced in 2021 with our company, GeneX Solar, preparing for the community consideration the filing of this solar energy facilities special exception petition. And it's a petition that we feel, and we'll demonstrate to you this evening, and future meetings, of course, that it will conform to local, state, and federal requirements, all while we've consulted many data points, including your comprehensive plan. Tonight's meeting is the 5th meeting associated with this project, either hosted by the county or hosted by the project since June of 2024.
Sir, what is your name?
Wayne DeLong.
Can you spell that last name for me?
DELONG.
Thank you.
Certainly. Tonight's presentation, as the screen indicates, is divided into 6 sections, allowing for us to work through different topics, again, working to demonstrate the project's compliance with different requirements within your zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Of course, our primary goal, as you know, one of many, is to focus on your findings of fact, which are enumerated here on the screen. Do not need to read these for you, but certainly these are the structural foundation for which we are focused this evening. Back to the timeline, as Matt mentioned, certainly this identifies a number of things that have happened since 2017, which is when the county, of course, adopted its comprehensive plan, enumerating several steps to you. And we do look forward to the meeting that Tim Wortman reached out about here in November to work through road use decommissioning and other financial topics. Getting into general information, let's start with the project team. Of course, Wayne DeLong, Director of Development, Indiana resident for 40 years. I serve as the project developer for Cabrillo Solar. Joined here this evening by Ms. Allison Roars, VP of Land Development, Mr. Aaron Cottle, Director of Development and Regenerative Agriculture. Jenny Hartley is here as well, Director of Community Engagement. Some of you, or many of you, may know these folks from interactions with the project. Ms. Amanda Coral, Director of Permitting, Donnie G. Castro, Senior Developer. You've already met Mr. Matt Newman, Legal Counsel, Mr. Chris Ramey, Local Ambassador, Fancy Communications, our first hire of the project. Mr. David Hall is here. He's an appraiser with Integrity Resources. Mr. Andrew Horvath, professional engineer, designer on the project. Mr. Ben Harvey, senior partner with Stantec, again, another designer on the project. And Mr. Aaron Miller. ESRG is a fire safety consulting company. They work with our project. All these folks are here to answer questions this evening, certainly as in this part of the presentation or in any future rebuttal if you have any questions. Talking about the project itself, 600 megawatt project. The project is within the PJM system. As you may know, and you might have heard the name MISO. MISO is the other grid operator in the state of Indiana. 2/3 of Indiana's counties are covered with 2 different grids. This is a joint transmission state where these 2 grid providers work together to provide and distribute the power and provide for current and future electrical needs. We have 2 queue positions as designed by the regional transmission operator. That means that the project will be built in phases, but these phases will be concurrent. We've had a Solar 101 opportunity about a year ago, but certainly we like to talk about how does solar work. We've mentioned the grid already, as to the right on the screen here. This power is created by solar panels. In this particular project, the specification is a Canadian solar product. That's the name of the product. It is a bifacial, so double-sided panel that tracks with the sun as it rises and sets. That power is flipped to an inverter that's turned into alternating current, ramped up at the transformer and into the electrical grid. Of course, these components are all mandated by your own zoning ordinance to not exceed the decibel levels of 50 decibels, and we will be adhering to that. Certainly on the screen are the actual specifications like I mentioned here. We've got our bifacial panels, the inverters themselves, and the dual tracker, which we don't have an illustration for, but that allows the panels to tilt back and forth. Certainly these inverters are well within the project, sometimes hundreds of feet within, already set back 40, 50, 70, 150 feet, depending on how things are designed. Always a great question. Why here? Why now? First and foremost, like any other utility grade commodity, this product is made where it's most easily distributed and where there is demand. That question flipped around, will all this power stay in Decatur County? At this point, the design of this project shows about 7 times more power being generated than the homes here would need. And we obviously there's a lot more customers here than these homes, but what I'm trying to give is a comparable that, yes, if the demand was here, yes, all this power in theory could stay here, but there is not. This power would travel where it was needed, and this power would certainly be mapped out, and we can discuss that in greater detail. Would be transmitted through the county, through the state, and ultimately leaving the state if there is not consumption by the time it reaches the state line. Certainly there's been many different variables, as we can see on the screen. Location and demand are the 2, I would say, primary drivers. Of course, Indiana's moderate climate comes into play. And you have to have a community that wants to have the conversation about the opportunity. And that conversation starts with the landowners. This slide serves to demonstrate the 24 to 36 months of effort that goes into this type of project. We have a numerous number of studies. Many are on the screen here. For example, the economic impact study, stormwater control study. These are studies based upon inputs that these designers gather and then provide to us. And then we provide these studies to the file. Some of these studies will be updated throughout the project depending on inputs and certainly conversations this evening. A great update conversation could be landscaping. If there's a decision or articulation that additional landscaping could be a component that, that does need to be enhanced. Another graphic related to site selection, we didn't really talk about the natural buffering, but these finding an area of a community that is both interested in hosting the conversation as well as has the natural topography, both open space as well as natural trees, natural buffer, to give some of that natural screening. What we'll talk about later here is some of the screening that we are putting in, numbers to 22,000 trees and some of these trees will reach 40, 50, 60 feet in height at maturity, which is wonderful. But that's, I mean, certainly to match that as a part of the natural environment is certainly a goal of the project. We talked about that 24 to 36 month ramp up just for the siting or just for the study component. That's part of a 8 to 10 year window where we are working through the very infancy of conversations with landowners, to find out with the community if there's any interest in this type of project, certainly identifying that the community in 2021 adopted an ordinance, and as a few slides back talked about, that was one of 46 in the state of Indiana that has that type of ordinance to regulate utilities, community scale solar energy system as your ordinance articulates it. Getting into more granular details here. On the screen is our site plan as filed August 30th, 2024. The project is 7,049 acres in size, located in 2 townships, both Clay and Adams Townships. 5,300 acres, give or take, behind the fence. That's the acreage that would be taxed as solar. The size of the project represents approximately 2% of Decatur County's ground. By comparison, that's about the same size as the city of Greensburg. On the right side of the screen, we get into some granular details and start focusing on demonstrating how this project complies with the comprehensive plan, your zoning ordinance, and other applicable regulations. This project is intending to deploy and utilize agrivoltaics, dual use. That is, I would say, the strongest way we can demonstrate to the county that the project is not and does not consume agricultural land, is going to work in tandem with the land. The definition of the consume, use up, those 2 words would mean more like your residential development where that land is not coming back. It has been consumed by a tract development, for example, turning that ground into tract home sites. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do. But your comprehensive plan is very focused on protecting property rights, protecting the community from sprawl and consumption, and we certainly do appreciate that. We mentioned the screening and buffering. Those agrivoltaics and screening and buffering are 2 of our, one of our favorite things to talk about because they really help make the project even better for a community in terms of what can be accomplished when there's creation of habitat by the establishment of 22,000 trees, where in your section 9, I think it's article 9 of your ordinance, it speaks to one of the agricultural activity is protecting habitat. Well, this project actually creates the habitat, which is then mandated by your zoning ordinance to be protected. We do have a video that would feature all of this information here, but for sake of time, and certainly as the room indicates, there are many people here that are interested in this hearing, this meeting here, and certainly don't want to take 4 minutes of your time to view a video, but this is one set of imagery from that video showing boundary of the site on your left there is the current view, and that computer-aided rendering is the exact same home, generally the same view as what the project or what that property would look like post-construction, trees installed. This going into the concept of establishing that habitat, providing that screening and buffering, all necessary components that are supported by the agricultural district. Getting into more deeper detail about our solar grazing plan. Synovus Consulting out of Franklin, Indiana, is the vendor that will be working with us to create our solar grazing plan. This particular topic is not mentioned in our economic impact study. In fact, our economic impact study is silent when it comes to this. So the information contained within that study, you could almost frame that as a worst case scenario, if you will, that absent any agricultural activity, job loss, dollars, all those numbers are all based upon those assumptions. But those assumptions do not interact with a solar grazing plan, which we would then provide to the vendor to then update their economic impact study. And certainly, Mr. Aaron Caudle is here. Certainly, if there's any more details specific to solar grazing in Indiana, certainly across the country, happy to speak to those. But as you can see on the screen, we identify this as a win-win for the community as well as for the project. And certainly, it's right within the spirit of not consuming land. Another topic that's of great focus, of course, is property valuation. We are certainly aware from your previous testimony from the RWE process that there were some questions about the Kirkland study. Certainly, we routinely hired Kirkland's to do work for us. We're very pleased with what they do for us. But certainly, we heard those concerns. We reacted to those concerns, brought a new vendor in to do an analysis of that analysis. Now, that might sound a little maybe not necessary, but the community spoke, we listened, and we want to continue to hear concerns and work to identify solutions. In this particular case, the vendor on the right, Integra Realty Resources, we mentioned Mr. David Hall's name already, is here in the audience, and certainly he can speak to his review of the Kirkland study. But the Kirkland study speaks to what level of impact would be occurring with a solar project, but with the proper screening and buffering mitigates that. And what we would offer to you is that your own ordinance requires screening and buffering, and that is the standard to which the community has adopted. And certainly at 22,000 trees, and Mr. Andrew Horvath is here and can speak to any specificity as to our landscape plans. But regardless, we have provided that this appraisal information for you. We speak to the screening and buffering, and certainly we're happy to take into consideration and certainly hear if additional screening and buffering is something that is desired within the project area. Benefits to the community. With these types of projects, there are multiple beneficiaries, and those beneficiaries do change based upon the scale of the project. Certainly one of the great questions that could come up is, how does this project compare to any other projects that you've considered that at a utility scale? You've actually had, obviously very recent experience. At 600 megawatts, the dollar value of the project is very different, pushing nearly $1 billion. And how that can be distributed and leveraged by the community is a very different conversation at that scale. So that's just one particular difference. But you do have folks here this evening, as Matt mentioned, that we believe Baker Tilly might provide some information to you. They provided an independent analysis, if you will. They merely just took our information. We have our own, obviously, impact study that's within the filing. We're obviously happy to provide Baker Tilly additional information, whatever they may need. And then on top of all of that, we have another vendor, Denton's, will provide their own tax impact analysis for any future conversations related to the project. Certainly environmental benefits, we have a team of folks here that can outline those, and agricultural benefits. And we also don't want to overlook participants in the room. There are experts in the room that aren't identified on the screen, including our landowners, that could speak to these items. Your comprehensive plan. While you know these things intimately, many in this room know these things intimately, we do want to state these things on the record in an effort to demonstrate our compliance and exceeding the requirements of your comprehensive plan. We've spoken about protecting the county's agricultural resources. We're working through that with our solar grazing plan. The implementation of a solar project allows the land to rest. It changes how it is farmed. We go from traditional row cropping to a different level of application of pesticides, fertilizers, things like that. How water is managed. Right now, agricultural farm field is not a regulated non-source pollutant, if you will. Once the land goes into the project, stormwater quality regulations, everything changes. Just by the project coming to the landscape actually improves water quality because of the changes in discharge rates and the management of what is discharged. Balancing preservation of agricultural land by protecting private rights, certainly private property rights. Those will be topics that both the landowners speak to. We cover later on in this presentation. But these are all things that we're very, very focused on. Certainly protecting the county's rural atmosphere and supporting agricultural economy. We can't think of a better way to support the agricultural economy than to assist it in its diversification. Certainly there are folks here this evening that are much more learned than I in terms of how to operate a farm and the economy and the economics that go into production agriculture. And certainly we've already touched on the loss of agricultural land and how our project believes it's addressing that. Uniquely on this slide,
Wayne, excuse me, do you mind speaking just a hair louder so we can hear?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was backing up as I was reading. Very good. Thank you for addressing that. Two other items on this screen is the increased housing supply and the diversity of that housing. Uniquely, why is that on our slide? But what you will discover, or at least I believe you will discover, is that as you work with us further, yes, we are a utility scale solar developer. But we are, as Indiana residents, as folks focused on the future, we look at things differently, and we identify other policies, other opportunities to assist a community, and we bring those to your attention to at least cause a conversation to see what else we can do to help improve things. And then another policy in your comp plan is the fewer young workers and the age cohorts that you're targeting. Your comprehensive plan is concerned about loss of youth and what that means to the county. And the reason I bring that up is that per your 2017 comprehensive plan, it's showing a positive trend of population growth. 2024, post things that have happened in the world last couple of years, trend lines are changing. The map on the left is showing where population loss is occurring. The center graphic shows, and the bottom graphic shows the age cohorts that are changing. Things are trending opposite of what your comprehensive plan wanted to see. So we found this information. We know that from other experiences that projects such as ours that can bring generational investment to the community creates an opportunity to leverage that investment. So this is how we start to talk about that. Maybe not a decision tonight, but it's a talking point. We also explore polling data. This is super intriguing that McLaughlin Associates, polling firm which you may know the name of, certainly the couple names on the screen are pretty relevant recently. 58% of the scientific poll, and that was of 300 folks, and McLaughlin would say that that's pretty normal to poll a data set of 300. 58% of Decatur County voters support the use of solar energy as a part of Indiana's energy mix. Interesting. 53% voters back solar energy production on private property. Pretty impactful. But this is why in 2021 we felt that this was the case between the county adopting a supportive ordinance, that yes, they would like to have a conversation. Polling data just from August 2024 matches up pretty well. But we want to spend a good, or at least a decent amount of time exploring the economic benefits of the project. Certainly, these numbers have been shared multiple times. They do vary depending on what inputs are put into the model. But property taxes generated across 42 years, that's the lifespan of the project, $140 million over the life of the project. Now, that doesn't mean $140 million, of course, are showing up in the county's coffers. That gets managed by county auditor, county assessor. Of course, as you know, these things being in local government, state of Indiana then gets the dollars, and then your rates then cause whatever dollars to come back. That narrative can be changed, of course, with the establishment of an economic development agreement. Now, that's a very different conversation. That's not something we would get into tonight. Certainly the BZA we can talk about those things, but that's a very different conversation with the county assessor, or county assessors, of course, county council, county commissioners. But it's something we would be happy to discuss because it allows for home rule of those dollars for a certain number of years, which then those dollars can be reinvested in a different way, can be earmarked for different projects, can be steered to other taxing districts that maybe are not receiving the amount of dollar that decision makers desire that group or that body to receive. A couple different numbers on that screen, of course. This $269 million of local spending occurring during the construction, $73 million of local spending occurring post-construction. Now, all of these, the data set of all the names and entities, hoteliers, gas stations, whatever it is all listed in the economic impact study. But that's just raw data for your consumption this evening. Certainly, workforce development, very different than jobs lost, jobs changed. But certainly, you have a workforce of about 1,150 folks that would be necessary to build this type of project. Up to 10 permanent jobs, depending on who owns the project at the end of the day, how things shake out. That's not a topic we've touched on yet, but certainly we've been and we're happy to talk about it at any depth, but our business model is to create this asset and sell it. It's why we created the Cobia Solar LLC in 2021. We are very good at what we do, at least that's what we think, early stage development. You don't see a utility performing the same services that we do. We're also not an operator, and we're driven to create a project that is saleable. But we're here to work with the community to put together a project that is saleable, but does also function in a manner that the community desires it to function. We'll talk a little bit further here in a minute about the property taxes paid and how those are leveraged. And that mainly occurs uniquely in Indiana because of our constitutional amendment a couple years ago, creating property tax caps. As more dollars are poured in to a community, it shapes out who has to pay what. And we'll show that in a minute. And we compliment and thank Baker Tilly for creating that slide for us, the data set they gave us. We'll get to that in a second. But all of this sums together, Cobia Solar we see as a generational opportunity for the county, both in terms of soil preservation, farm preservation. Different opportunities can be leveraged financially and otherwise. We'll get to that tax dollar that I mentioned. Bring back this slide. Speaking about 3 in 5 people agree that we need to diversify energy sources and support solar energy in Indiana. Again, really impactful information. Happy to discuss it. The same respondents in that survey here in Decatur County featured top three things out of 8 or 10 that they provided. Tax cuts, schools and education, roads and infrastructure. Top 3 that they wanted to see assisted by the dollars generated by a renewable energy project. So when we think about the findings of fact and demonstrating welfare, benefiting the community, improving things for the community. And then you marry that topic to a tax cut. How is that accomplished? Well, we go back to our tax caps in the state of Indiana. A negative is created. So in the parentheses there, again, Baker Tilly gets the credit for this data set that I've curated just for this particular piece. You can see I cut off a piece so I can fit the rest of the data on the slide. We've got a negative. So the project shows up, builds, pre-2041, pre-2041 is a topic for the Baker Tilly folks to speak to. So your property tax is X. Once our project is in functioning, residential property taxes decrease in all townships. Now, Clay and Adams townships see the greatest decrease. So that's what's featured here. Now, I'm not a fan of doing math in public, but we will provide some things for folks to do some math with. You've got populations in Adams and Clay, 2.5 dwellings per person per 2020 census, say that right here, equates to about 1,200 homes. 1,200 homes times 42 years times a decrease. That's a big number. Now, there's lots of factors that go into assessment of homes, and I don't know what those all are. So that number you get when you do that equation is not the answer, the correct one. But the fact your focus by the respondents to that survey, number one is a tax cut. And a tax cut is a direct result of Cobia Solar coming to Decatur County. That is a direct improvement to the community, and we would demonstrate that it's an improvement to the overall welfare of the community. Kind of backing up a little bit, the dollars that we see based upon the modeling, about $3.5 million annual tax revenue for distribution. So how that would be managed would be going to different taxing units, fire, school, cemetery, park, county, or township government, whatever the case, whatever your taxing units are set up to be. The only way to manage that differently is through an economic development agreement, which again, we're happy to have a conversation about, but it's something that entities like us are invited to have that conversation. Community partners. A couple names that we mentioned in the room are in the picture here. That investment started years ago by this company, by GeneX Solar, Cobia Solar, in Greensburg, in Decatur County. 6 months ago, we opened a local office, give or take, downtown Greensburg. We're happy to be a part of the brick and mortar fabric of the community. Just a couple other pictures through here of different things that we've done, sponsorships. But again, that sponsorship and those dollars that we bring, we're happy to be a corporate resident in every project, every community that hosts a project. We appreciate the big screen here. We know this font is really hard to read, but we always like to showcase all the things that we've been up to. This is in your handouts that have been given to you this evening by Mr. Newman, so you definitely have these for more relaxed reading. But in summary, you got a good list there since 2022 of different activities that we've performed in or supported, be it ice cream socials, backs to school bashes, open houses, YMCA donations. There's many, many things there. Project specifications. Mr. Newman mentioned our recent TAC meeting on October 28th. As we understood it in speaking with the then area plan director, an internal TAC meeting would be conducted post our filing, and then another TAC meeting would be hosted if there were questions. And so we did inquire prior to learning that we were being invited to a TAC meeting as to what questions had been curated prior to our arrival, and none were provided, but still we're glad to get these questions to then have the input of the questions so we can then consider and then provide responses to. So just for the benefit of conversation, again, demonstrating, compliance with the ordinance, compliance with the different rules and regulations. There was questions about our fire safety plan and what would we do to deal with annual fire safety training. We'll do both. We'll offer that as a commitment if that's helpful. Mr. Aaron Miller, ESRG, is here as well, our fire safety expert. I believe some of your volunteer or career firefighters are here this evening. Fantastic to have a conversation about Knox boxes, response times, scene lights, blankets. We're happy to discuss all the granular details about that or have a separate conversation. We will have a follow-up fire safety training webinar to our original fire safety training, which was hosted August 21st. We're going to have a follow-up for all the attendees if they did attend or not. We recognize volunteers have a challenge to make those types of events. A concern came up about what if you sell to a utility? Utilities pay their taxes differently. Your county auditor, I believe, spoke eloquently at, or maybe assessor, I have the titles wrong, spoke eloquently at the TAC meeting about this topic. But in summary, yes, this project could be sold to a utility. We're happy to set a floor of a minimum tax guarantee to be paid annually to you. Now, that would have to be set up through an agreement, but that's one way to future-proof that concern. Certainly, and it's on the screen, certainly for documentation purposes and also in your packet. Concern about loss of farmland, we've talked in great detail about how we believe the project is not consuming or causing loss of farmland. Negative impact on property values is brought up. Mr. David Hall is here to speak to the appraisal process here in the state of Indiana, but what we would demonstrate and provide here is that with proper screening and buffering, as the study states, no impact to property values is anticipated. Road inventory, pre-construction inventory. Happy to do that. We're happy to commit to conducting a pre-construction road inventory to document conditions so we can be held responsible. Energy consumption and power flow. We're happy to discuss that tonight. One of the main questions related to that was, will this power stay here in Indiana, like we've talked about? I don't need to repeat that, save the time here. But we're happy to talk about how we've modeled the power flow. I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Newman to touch upon the findings of fact.
Thank you, Wayne. Permission to approach again real quick.
Thank you.
I'll be brief and then I'll turn it over to our participating landowners because I know they are anxious to be heard. And so with respect to the findings of fact, as I mentioned, what I've distributed is the detailed findings of fact that we included in our application package. So that's a duplicate of what's in our binder. And I thought it would be, for ease of reference, helpful to distribute so everyone has a copy. Sure. Thank you. Can you hear me better now? Yes. And so with that, I won't, in light of kind of the level setting we did up top, that tonight's not going to be a vote. I won't go through this in too much detail, but just briefly preview what's in what was submitted. And so returning to the criteria, the statutory criteria, which you're familiar with, which Wayne displayed at the top. It's the project's position that based on its application, based on the detailed documentation and support of that application, that it does meet based on the record today, based on the record that will be developed tonight, based on the record that will be developed at future hearings, the project does meet those statutory criteria. The approval will not endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. There will be full compliance with the zoning ordinance. There'll be safety protocols. The solar project will not generate noise. Based on numerous noise studies, solar projects do not produce toxic or hazardous wastes. General welfare, this is a $900 million capital investment, projected revenues, tax revenues exceeding $100 million. The use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. As we've outlined here in our slides and in the findings before you, aesthetic impact is managed. Land use rights are preserved. This protects a multi-generational family land ownership by preventing subdivision development. It's a temporary land use, and it provides support for agriculture. The use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and service, such as highway, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer. Emergency training, as Wayne said, emergency consultation with local fire departments has already occurred, and as part of the commitments, I take a little detour to say on behalf of the project that it's our hope that we're certainly here to talk, and we're certainly here to present our project, but we're also here to listen. And so we would like to open up a dialogue, and so if there are certain things that are important to the community, we're certainly here to listen and memorialize those in conditions. Your zoning ordinance allows the creation of conditions that can be attached to an approval. So if those are important, so one I think we would fully expect would be a commitment for fire safety training in a manner that's attractive to the community. But back to these findings, traffic management, minimal impact on public services, and stormwater management. The use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. As our submitted findings and reports detail, there's no negative impact on property values, and there's land preservation promoted by this project. The use will not generate traffic on the existing street network that will cause congestion or unsafe ingress and egress within the neighborhood. While there certainly can be some traffic impacts during construction, I think those will be well managed, returning back to the concept of conditions and adding conditions to this approval. I think road use is a great concept. And in terms of a commitment, we welcome that future meeting to talk about the particulars of road use. In my experience, a project of this size and scope would typically make, I think, some robust commitments to potentially even prior to construction, make some improvements to the roads, so any impact during construction is almost mitigated from the outset by some road improvements, and then a commitment to repair. But then the good news with the solar project is once you're operational, there's very low traffic impact. And perimeter security. Moving to the next one, the use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, or conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare. We hope you'll agree that by the deep roster of experts and subject matter experts we've employed and the documentation and reports submitted, we can meet this finding. There's no odor or visual impacts, noise compliance, minimal traffic and road use, and no communication interference. The approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted by the Decatur County Area Plan Commission and the Decatur County Commissioners. There is alignment with the comprehensive plan. The project aligns with the solar ordinance supporting the 2017 comprehensive plan's objective of promoting growth while preserving rural land. It provides support for farmers' rights, balanced economic growth, and land restoration and soil regeneration. Thank you for allowing that quick kind of preview of those findings of fact. Like I said, you have a copy now. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to participating landowners from Cobia. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Teresa Hull, H-U-L-L. I proudly live in Decatur County, and therefore I am your neighbor. Tonight you've heard data, and you'll hear comments to aid you in making a decision about the solar field project. I understand that you're using a voting and evaluation sheet to help you fairly determine how to make your decision. So let me talk on point 1 of your evaluation sheet. Your approval will not endanger the general welfare of the community. According to Black's Law Dictionary, the well-being and prosperity of society as a whole is the definition of general welfare. This includes public health, safety, morals, and peace. It includes promoting agriculture and industry, protecting the environment, and solving social and economic problems. This project provides socio-economic benefit to the community. It allows the land to rest while still providing resources for our community and to neighboring communities by providing an energy source. Pollinators and grazing animals will have acreage to thrive on while the solar panels create the much-needed energy for our region. As a landowner, my decision to participate in this project has been carefully evaluated and been completely voluntary. My moral compass has been applied in making the decision to allow my land to be part of this project. Landowners have considered what would provide the highest and best use for our land and for our community. We care about our land, our neighbors, our environment, and the well-being of the citizens of Decatur County. Also to point 7 on your sheet, the Decatur County Comprehensive Plan includes 2 primary components: an outline for desired future land uses and infrastructure improvements, as well as a set of policy recommendations regarding future development, agriculture, transportation, economic development, as well as community facilities and services. This project is a positive thing for the county. It coincides with the comprehensive plan. It will allow for multi-use of the land while producing economic gain for the community, which in turn provides funding for infrastructure improvements and the other points made in the comprehensive plan. Therefore, the project does not interfere with the comprehensive plan adopted by the Decatur County Area Plan Commission and its commissioners. I thank you for your time and your consideration on this matter.
Good evening. My name is David Correa. I'm a 5th-generation farmer, agribusiness owner, and landowner here in Decatur County. Our family has lived, worked, and died here for generations, and I will do the same. We care deeply about Decatur County, our friends and neighbors, and the land. I'm a steward of the land and our family farm, and I take that responsibility very seriously. Not a day goes by where I don't think about the land, our family, our community, the environment, or future generations. I would like to spend this time sharing our view from a landowner perspective. I want the board to understand that we put a huge amount of time and effort into researching solar prior to leasing. We spent over 2 years researching solar, speaking with other solar landowners and host communities, and negotiating our lease. Through that process, we concluded that solar is a huge opportunity for agriculture, the environment, and Decatur County and its citizens. And we are very satisfied with our decision to lease. Solar is complementary and beneficial to modern production agriculture. Solar is consistent with our land stewardship and conservation values. The steady income provided by solar acres will allow our farm to make additional investments in farm infrastructure, equipment, tiling, and other agricultural investments, and we have a long history of sourcing almost exclusively through local suppliers and service providers, which we view as lifetime relationships. We own and operate other farms and plan to hire additional workers locally due to the benefits of solar to our farm operation. Therefore, solar represents a major opportunity for local agriculture. The Cobia project will generate approximately $3.5 million of incremental annual income to the county and is an opportunity to simultaneously replace and improve aging infrastructure and schools while reducing property taxes for all property taxpayers in the county. We strongly encourage the Decatur County government to use this large recurring stream of direct solar income to push solar dollars widely into our community. Many have called it a generational opportunity, and we agree. Our county has the unique opportunity to host a world-class solar project that will produce renewable energy and improve the environment while creating huge economic opportunities that will benefit our community and future generations broadly. This is a great thing. We are proud to be part of the project from a landowner perspective and the prosperity it will bring to Decatur County. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Gordon Smiley. I really appreciate being able to come this evening, and I'm extremely excited about the opportunity that this project brings to our community. The project will not endanger, but rather improve the morals, comfort, and general welfare of Decatur County citizens with the Cobia project. This is item number 1 on your special exemptions list. The initial estimate is that there's going to be over $3 million to the county budget every year. This is a huge opportunity. The extra income can be used for lots of things that the county can use for infrastructure. I look at each person in this room and I ask them, are a team player looking for the long-term benefits that this can do for our entire community? Our county should take advantage of a unique opportunity that's presented before us. The project will improve the moral, comfort, and general welfare of Decatur County through the extra tax dollars that can be used and generated the number 1 evaluation sheet with the improvements through the extra tax dollars. Multifunctional, it's not a word that we normally use in farming operations, but it will be with this project. Solar energy production along with grazing or specialty crops at the same time allows for multifunctional use. Our complementary plan on page 59 states that the county does not support commercial solar that would consume agricultural land. Then on item number 7 on your evaluation sheet states directly that the approval does not interfere substantially with our comprehensive plan. The word consume in our comprehensive plan describes agricultural land that is being used up or disappearing because of solar production. The comprehensive plan is designed to preserve farmland. We all agree on this point. The solar project does preserve farmland. The land can be farmed with the solar energy and production during the temporary leases that we have, and the land will be preserved for the future generations of farming at the end of the lease. The land today is classified as A1. The ordinance that is passed is classified still as A1. After decommissioning, it is still classified as A1. Per those descriptions, very clearly, the land is not being consumed because it's still A1. So the project is not going against the comprehensive plan, and the land is being preserved. Item number 7 on your evaluation sheet is fully met. 60 years ago, a group of gentlemen sat in chairs in front of the citizens of Decatur County. They had multiple meetings just like you're having tonight. They were described as tearing this community apart. They did their homework, visited other communities, but the key factor that they did was remove all emotions and think about the long-term benefits of Decatur County citizens. They came to the conclusion to have I'm going to get this word wrong, consolidation of our county schools and to make North and South Decatur. That overall community benefit came first in their minds as the long-term benefit gains clearly outweighed the short-term emotions. I am challenging you as a BZA board to do your own homework, your own research, and most importantly, visit other counties who have solar projects in existence. Realize that you are representing all the citizens in our county. I ask you to grant this special grant to the Cobia project. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Smiley, and I'd like to tell you why I have made the decision to participate in the GNX Solar Project. My wife and I have 3 adult children and a grandbaby on the way. Our 2 daughters are teachers in local schools, and the oldest is taking some time off to raise their child. Our son is an officer in the Navy on a nuclear submarine, so as you can see, they have careers outside of production agriculture. As we look at how we can generationally support our family, this opportunity is the most secure financially, and just as importantly, it keeps the soil in place for years to come. When we began this process, we were told early on that the solar company would be paying the property taxes along with the taxes due on the panels to the county. I know of nothing that we can do as a landowner that will produce this amount of tax money for our county and maintain an A1 land classification. Adding over $3 million per year in income to the county will help everyone. The old adage, a rising tide floats all boats. The county council and the commissioners will decide how and where these funds should be used, so it will be under local control, I think is best. The estimated $140 million in income over the life of the project will add value to our roads, county salaries, schools, fire departments, and other local needs. Romans 13 tells us about how God created the government. And since you are on this board, you are part of the government. We are commanded to pray for those in authority. And that is what I do. I pray for the board to receive knowledge, peace, intellect, patience, discernment, and wisdom. Thank you for your service to the county.
Okay, thank you, folks. We are going to take a brief 5-minute break, and we'll return then.
here.
I know. That's why everything I have to do.
You know what's wrong with these?
Making sure it's
There's no road numbers on here, and I don't reckon,
You know, just up here.
just for that.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start the second portion of our meeting here. I've been asked to make sure that all speakers speak directly into the microphone so everyone can hear. That includes our online audience as well. So we'll begin the public comment section. We are going to limit all conversations to 3 minutes. I'll keep a timer here. Again, we will extend that time if there's relative information. We ask that in respect of everyone's time that we please stay on topic and with new relative information. If we interrupt you, please don't take that as disrespect. We're just trying to keep things moving along here. So I will call 2 names to begin with. The first will be the first speaker. The second, please get in position so we can transition quickly. Having said that, we will start with Sheila Kirchhoff. Down there is fine. Is that where the camera's at? Yep. So
Okay.
Sheila will begin, and then Heidi Nicholson will follow.
Good evening. My name is Sheila Kirchhoff. I live at 909 East, 500 North Greensburg. Thank you guys for taking time again this evening. Our presentations are designed to be as fact-based and on point as proven. All 7 conditional use criteria are not being met by Cobia, also known as GNX Solar. We are Decatur County citizens who live, work, and contribute to the Decatur County and whose lives will be affected by our farm fields being used as solar. Tonight, you will not hear us talk about our opinions or assumptions, statements of which have not been researched or statements about being against solar. We are against losing thousands of acres of fertile Decatur County farmland to large commercial solar operations. Tonight, we anticipate you will hear both sides in regard to the visual impacts, vegetative management practices, potential tax income, differing definitions of the word temporary, and conflicting interpretations of property rights. Our group has remained focused on each 7 conditional criteria and our comprehensive plan. To remind everyone here tonight, the comprehensive plan was updated so the city and county could implement comparative visions. The county plan provides guidance with policy recommendations for the future and use plans to direct future growth. These policies offer support for the citizens' vision of the county's future. When I hear citizens' vision, I think of property rights, which will be the big topic tonight, but let's review what this law means. Under common law, properly applied, people cannot use their property in ways that damage their neighbor's property. Defined, again, as taking things those neighbors hold free and clear. Properly conceived and applied, then property rights are self-limiting. They constitute a judicial crafted and enforced regulatory scheme in which rights of active use end when they encroach on property rights of others. Thus, common law limits and the right of free use only and when use encroaches on property rights of others, as in the classic law of nuisance and risk. We are here to say we are not against solar, but we are against losing prime farm ground. There are more efficient and productive location sites for industrial solar panels that need to be explored just as intensely as they are exploring using our prime farm ground. As local citizens, we ask, why would we limit ourselves to decades of industrial solar contracts when industrial solar panels may be technology obsolete in the near future? If we as a community want to utilize solar, let's establish a safer, more cohesive way to install panels that do not remove this ground. We are asking you to deny this application. Collectively, we will prove that the solar application fails to meet the 7 conditional use special exception criteria and goes against our plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Garrett Swearing, you'll be up next.
Hi, my name is Heidi
Yep, Heidi, go ahead.
Green
Garrett, you'll follow.
Nicholson. My address is 4013 South County Road, 850 West, Greensburg, Indiana 47240. And I will be speaking of how Cobia does not meet the conditional use special exception number 1 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use special exception number 1 states, the approval will not endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the community. I'm going to read directly from our Decatur County Comprehensive Plan. Under Vision and Principles, page 20, Decatur County will continue to preserve and enhance its agricultural lands and activities. Decatur County will continue to work to protect viable farmland, a thriving agricultural industry, and enhance the profitability of agriculture through agricultural support and services, and developing economic development partnerships that increase the demand for locally produced agricultural commodities. So I go on to say, accepting Cobia's request for industrial solar panels will decrease the supply for local agricultural commodities in Decatur County, so much so that it will not only take away thousands of acres of potential crops, but it will also have a negative impact on the agricultural-related businesses locally. One example is the decrease in retail sales to our local vendors who sell seed, chemicals, and fertilizer. Secondly, there will be a decrease in the supply of grain, ultimately resulting in higher feed prices for our local livestock farmers who are feeding their livestock. Also, other local businesses, including equipment dealers and repair shops, and fuel suppliers and banks, lenders and insurance providers will also feel this burden. Policy 1 states, protect the county's agricultural resources. Policy 2 reads, balance preservation in agricultural land while protecting private property rights. Farmers have to produce more food on less ground than ever before. Farm security is equally, if not more important than green energy. We are doing our part to contribute to green energy. We are producing it. And if we accept the project tonight, we will be sacrificing Decatur County's greatest natural resource, our fertile, productive farm ground. Let's remind everyone that Indiana is ranked top 5 in production for popcorn, pumpkins, soybean, corn, hogs, and ducks. If we are doing our part in feeding the world, then why do we need to venture into this energy with all its unknown, far-reaching consequences? Energy that does not stay in our community, but rather goes back to the grid. Not only does industrial solar go against our comprehensive plan, but it also jeopardizes general welfare of our community. It will not enhance the profitability of ag services to support the agricultural industry locally, nor will it preserve or enhance agricultural land and enhance agricultural lands and activity. I'm asking you, the board, to follow the comprehensive plan and preserve productive farm ground for farming and deny this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Garrett, you'll be next. Sandy, you'll follow. Sandy Prophet.
My name is Garrett Schwering. I live at 4285 North County Road, 300 East, Greensburg, Indiana. And I'll be speaking to how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exception number 2 of the voting and evaluation sheet. I believe in the future of agriculture with a faith born not of words, but of deeds. That is the first line of the FFA Creed. I also live out this creed. I'm the owner of Garrett's Greenhouse and just returned from FFA's National Convention here in Indianapolis, where Indiana had nearly 4,600 students in attendance. Today I ask you, do you believe in my future of agriculture? Removing farm ground from production will harm those of us pursuing an agricultural career in this county from jobs related to crops, livestock, seed sales, and equipment repair. All these jobs are vital to our community, and removing productive farm ground from our county takes jobs from the future generation, people like me. Colby wants to take away jobs from our community from the over 150 FFA members in our very own county. Not only taking jobs, but it also takes away supply with no decrease in agricultural demand, not only in our county, but also worldwide. This project is a huge risk to our entire community. Wildlife, waterways, drainage, property values, and the life cycle of commercial solar power facilities are unproven and untested. Decommissioning is an obvious concern with unknowns in the solar community. Will our ground ever truly be fit to farm again? Colby claims all this stuff about decommissioning, but how do they truly know about decommissioning if they are founded in 2012? That is not a quoted lifetime of a solar farm. There's only one thing I can gather if they do know about decommissioning their fields, and that is that they don't last long. We can't fast forward 30 to 40 years, but we can look back. There were no cell phones, internet, or email. Imagine what energy breakthroughs will occur in the next decade. Colby wants to push this application now and use our home as a money-focused experiment based on an application filled with speculation. Why are we in such a hurry? This is a multi-generational decision. In 30 to 40 years, many of the decision makers on this project will no longer be here, but my generation will be. My generation will be the one dealing with the repercussions of the decisions you make tonight. Why are you so anxious to bet my future on their claims? Please deny this application as it is not harmonious to our current and future generations of this community. Thank you.
Guys, I appreciate your enthusiasm, I really do. But again, we've got a long list to get through tonight. If we can hold that applause to the end, I'd appreciate it. Randy Hoeing, you will, thank you guys. Randy, you'll be up next. Go ahead, Sandy.
Good evening. My name is Sandy Prophet. I live at 532 Bailey Court, Greensburg. And I'll be speaking to how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exception number 1 and number 2 of the voting and evaluation sheet. I'll start by asking everyone in this room to think of a time where you've ever heard that we should replace productive farm ground with solar. Indiana Farm Bureau is the largest grassroots farm organization in the state, with more than 250,000 members whose mission is to protect and enhance the future of agriculture and our communities. With support from their 2024 policy handbook, 13.A.11 reads, if incentive programs are used for renewable energy projects, they should be used towards development on non-productive grounds. Furthermore, under Agriculture Protections 15.B.1, it reads, we support laws that enable farmers to use farming practices and technology available to agriculture to provide feed, food, fiber, shelter, and fuel. Never do they state energy nor recognize solar as an agricultural product. The Indiana Farm Bureau policy also recommends the project be cited with regard to the productivity of farmland and be placed on marginal land and consider the impact on existing uses of land in the area. May 26, 2023, the American Farmland Trust Policy Director, Tim Fink, went on record to say, the key question for our national solar build-out is not if, but how the decisions we make today on how we achieve this critical climate goal will determine whether it strengthens rural communities and protects our best agricultural land for future generations, or results in large-scale permanent conversion of productive agricultural land. Solar development presents an opportunity for some landowners to receive steady, long-term lease payments, but concern over prime farmland conversion, land affordability and availability, and the overall impact of large-scale solar development is slowing the transition to renewable energy and could pose a long-term threat to rural livelihoods and landscapes. As a whole, we need integrations, not replacements. Sustainable green energy is meant to be coupled with production. Under panels, our ground is not being rested, it's being neglected. My question is, why are we rushing the application without testing it or knowing more about this new energy source? It's because at the end of the day, this is not about agriculture. It's not about green energy. It's not about the future of farms or the viability and the economic success of Decatur County citizens. This is about money. This application fails to account for our younger generation. It endangers the general welfare of the community and is not harmonious to the area, and therefore fails conditional use special exception number 1 and number 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy will be up next. Lori Geringer after that.
Hi, my name is Randy Hoeing. I live at 3044 East Base Road, Greensburg, Indiana. I'm a former 32-year career firefighter with 24 of those years as an assistant chief. I will be speaking on how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exception number 3 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use special exception number 3 states will be served adequately by essential public facilities, services such as highways, streets, police and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer, and schools, or that the person or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to provide adequately any such services. We have identified 4 major concerns. Number 1, limited access. Proposed development is surrounded by high security fence with at least 8 feet high and locked gates. This will limit quick access into the facility. This creates difficulty in reaching the fire in a timely fashion, as well as a concern during ground fires for the fire department. The fences and solar panels will limit routes to escape from fast-moving fire, thus the risk of entrapment. Other concerns are how to maneuver to a fire properly with limited paths around the perimeter. Number 2, electrocution. The presence of live electrical current makes it difficult and life-threatening for firefighters and first responders to safely extinguish a solar array fire without increasing the risk of electrocution. Because of these hazards, it often takes firefighters more time to assess and address the situation, which increases the potential for fire to get out of control. Number 3, toxic fumes. Solar equipment and panels burn off toxic fumes. Fire personnel would need appropriate breathing apparatus during fires to protect them from the toxic fumes. In a large fire, neighboring properties would need to be notified to evacuate the area until air quality is safe. Number 4, ground fires. Large areas of ground cover has always been a concern for fire departments due to large amounts of combustible material and wind. Due to the design layout of the industrial solar complex, normal tactics of trucks spraying water just ahead of the burn line cannot be used, thus reducing the effectiveness of stopping fire. This can lead to large, uncontrolled ground fires that would also burn everything combustible above or near the fire, including the wire of the solar panels. Large fire with toxic fumes will threaten neighboring properties, crops, livestock, and building structures. In a recent incident in Castleton, New York on October 26 of 2024, 17,000 panels on 38 acres were on fire, and over 15 fire departments and 80 firefighters responded to the blaze that was started from a brush fire. Due to the lack of transparencies and due diligence from Cobia regarding their fire response plan, paired with their relaxed encouragement for fire departments to request training rather than mandated, Cobia has not met the conditional use special exception number 3, and we are asking that you deny their application. Thank you.
Thank you. Travis Hardesty, you'll be next. Lori, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Lori Geringer. I live at 1212 West Rebecca Parkway, Greensburg, Indiana, 47240. And I will be speaking to how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exception number 4 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use special exception number 4 says, will not impede the normal and orderly development or improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Cobia says that the proposed special exception is consistent with adjacent land uses. However, Policy 2, balanced preservation of agricultural land while protecting private property rights, implies otherwise. The comprehensive plan reads, support the agricultural industry and sustain land in agricultural production through promotion of rural economic uses. Industrial solar panels are not promoting rural economical uses. The statement that follows on page 44, Policy 2, states to ensure effective agricultural zoning by prohibiting major subdivisions and other development not related to agriculture or agricultural industry. Policy 10 drives this home for us on page 59 when it states Decatur County understands that alternative energy technology is ever changing. Therefore, the county supports individual on-site, non-commercial alternative energy sources. Did you know that approximately 2,000 panels can be installed on 1 acre? Therefore, 5,000 acres could be consumed by over 10 million panels. That is 112,850 steel piles and hundreds of thousands of lineal feet of array fence, and I believe that their slide showed 71 miles of fence. How many semi-loads is that going to be on our local county roads? Additionally, Cobia claims that the solar project will allow the soil to rest for a minimum of 40 years, providing a recovery period and increasing the value of that land for agriculture in the future. We did extensive research as a group, and nowhere could we find a published article that encouraged taking established prime farmland, taking it out of production so it could rest, all for the sake of increasing the value of the land after the resting period. Most of us won't be here in 40 years. We've been blessed with highly productive and fertile soil, so why purposely ruin productive farmland and cause irreversible damage? Once again, I ask you to deny this application as it fails to meet conditional use special exception number 4. Thank you for your time.
Josh Tolleson, you'll be next.
My name's Travis Hardesty. I live at 4865 South County Road 950 West, Greensburg. I'll be speaking how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exemption number 5. Special exemption number 5 states project will not generate traffic on the existing street network that will cause congestion or unsafe ingress and egress within the neighborhood. As a result of the development, unless evidence is provided that improvements can be made to minimize or relieve the impacts. Cobia had CEC perform a traffic assessment report and concluded that there is no major impact on the intersection and roadways during operation. However, we still need to recognize page 6 of the comprehensive plan. State Road 46 and County Road 850 West are identified as primary corridors and roads in need of maintenance, paving, or widening per the transportation improvement map. 850 West is also identified as a main collector road. A collector road is defined by the comprehensive plan is designed for slower speeds and shorter travel. This triggers concern for the safety and well-being of the people who travel these roads daily. The concern is the increased congestion on and around these sites for the project's duration, not just for the construction portion of this project. Our friends to the west in Shelby County have experienced traffic jams as semis delivering products for the new installation, as well as increased traffic of contracted employees who are unfamiliar with the area. The public needs to be aware there will be many outside contracted workers in and around these solar sites that are not local hires, who lack an awareness of neighboring property lines, as well as having disregard for private property. Conditional use special exemption 5 is not being met by Cobia, as it will cause unsafe ingress and egress within the neighborhood. Maintenance and upkeep of multiple sites throughout this project will create congested traffic and damaging roads. This project will generate traffic and will cause issues in the neighborhood. Please deny this application based on Cobia not meeting conditional use number 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Todd Meyer, you'll be next.
Hello, my name is Joshua Tollison. I live at 8931 West State Road 46 in Greensburg, Indiana. I'll be speaking to how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exemption number 6 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use special exemption number 6 states, we will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic, noise, smoke, dust, fumes, glare, or odors. In Cobia's finding of fact, they mentioned that they performed a glint and glare analysis and found no significant glare. We'd like to elaborate on how these assessments are conducted. A glint and glare analysis is a calculation that determines the potential for glare and glint from a reflecting surface, such as a solar panel. The analysis involves several steps, including identifying receptors. It's consider the site's location, size, and any relevant consultation responses. Registering the local environment by recording the exact coordinates and angles of the reflecting surfaces and the points of interest. Creating a topographical profile and determine if direct sunlight is possible or if it will be blocked by obstacles. Calculating glare duration and time. Determining the angles between reflecting surfaces and the position of the sun. Identifying time periods. Determine when glint and glare will occur and how long it will last. And assessing disturbance. Determining how much of a disturbance the glint and glare may cause nearby residents. Even though a glint and glare analysis was conducted, how accurate are these reports? Impacts on road users are determined based on whether reflections are predicted and relative to the position of the reflection to the observer. These panels are not constructed and in place for real-life analysis to give them data. We spoke to several non-leasing landowners who we identify as points of interest per the glint and glare study, who are surrounded on 2 or more sides. No one has been approached or consulted about this findings of fact. We fear that this simulated analysis will not protect these surrounded landowners from the actual glint and glare after construction. In conclusion, the long-term material, equipment, and conditions of operation will be detrimental to persons and their general welfare. Therefore, we ask that you deny this application since Cobia fails conditional use special exemption number 6. Thank you.
Jim Moore, you'll be after Todd.
My name is Todd Maurer. I live at 3916 North State Road 3, Greensburg, Indiana. I will be speaking to how Cobia does not meet conditional use special exemption number 7 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use special exception number 7 states the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted by the Decatur County Area Plan Commission and the Decatur County Commissioners. Cobia's response to this special exception is the proposed special exception is consistent with the solar ordinance put in place by the county following the comprehensive plan update approved in 2017. The project will promote the comprehensive plan's goal of developing and managing technological advancement and growth while still instilling resources and rural preservation. To give you, the board, some context, the Decatur County Comprehensive Plan states more than 130 times the use of the word agriculture. All the statements leading up to this conditional use, special exception number 7, has proven that the county commissioners, area plan commission, county staff, steering committee, and community members were in agreement of not taking up prime agricultural land for other than its intended use, agricultural production. As written in the comprehensive plan in 2035, agriculture will still be prevalent because of the productive agricultural lands, both large and small, will have been preserved by directing new growth in areas adjacent to already developed clusters or the existing communities, page 20. Statements printed throughout the comprehensive plan are Decatur County will continue to preserve and enhance its agricultural lands and activities. The county will continue to work to protect viable farmland, a thriving agricultural industry, and enhance the profitability of agriculture through agricultural support services and developing economic development partnerships that increase the demand for locally produced agricultural commodities. Page 41. Temporary by definition, lasting for only a limited period of time, not permanent. 35 to 40 years is not the accurate definition of temporary. Article 20 of the Solar Energy Facilities Ordinance states that the county understands that alternative energy technology is ever-changing. Therefore, the county supports individual, on-site, non-commercial alternative energy sources. However, pursuant to Decatur County Comprehensive Plan, the county does not support the development of commercial alternative energy facilities that would consume agricultural land. The county discourages large-scale commercial development of alternative energy sources. Policy 10 of the Decatur County Comprehensive Plan mimics that exact statement. This project goes against our 2017 updated comprehensive plan. Cobia, once again, does not meet the conditional use special exception number 7. Please deny this application.
Albert Arbin, you'll be after Jim.
My name is James Moore. I'm a Decatur County resident and row crop farmer and sheep herdsman. The manipulation of anything brings disease and parasites. We've seen this with too many deer in one area, such as state parks. Sheep and deer have the same parasites. So when a deer grazes with the deer become infested and sick with parasites and carry these wherever they roam, or vice versa, releasing eggs in their fecal, infecting other farms. The county just had to deal with over 100 malnourished, parasite-infested goats. Do you want 21,000 sheep? An animal consumes the plant and uses the nutrients for growth and survival. When the nutrients that are left come out in the fecal, these leftover nutrients help replenish the soil for the next plant to grow, and the recycle continues. This process is not a one-to-one ratio, meaning without replacing the nutrients the animal consumed via fertilizers or lime, the soil will eventually become depleted. So the terminology of returning the land back to agriculture better than it was received is nothing more than an illusion. I have yet to hear of a discussion of soil tests or application processes. You can't drive through the rows of the panels from one end to the other due to the construction with the application equipment. Also, animals being sheep don't eat every plant. Without intervention, invasive plants will take over. Such is the case in White and Jasper County in Indiana, where they are currently trying to figure out how to spray herbicide within the solar fields because of the invasive plants. Indiana farmers can grow lots of grains, fruits, and vegetables. If there's no local market for what you grow, then it's not sustainable. I'd like the people here tonight that consume more than 5 pounds of lamb a year raise their hand. Then I want to know, why are we going to stop growing corn and soybeans and replace it with 840,000 pounds of lamb that we have to ship 4 states away to find a market? I also want to point out, they mentioned 1,150 new jobs. Agriculture jobs go from the farm to the grocery store to the manufacturing and all across the whole board. You can write this down. It's 0.251 ag-related jobs per acre. And if you take 7,000 acres, that's 1,757 jobs lost. And that's not in Decatur County, that's across the board. But it does not, 1,150 new ones doesn't help.
Thank you, Jim.
I just wanted to ask you to deny this special exemption. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Susie Dean, you'll follow Albert.
Albert Armin, 13094 South 600 West Westport. It's been suggested by several people from Cobia and the landowners that this project will enhance the value of the soils for long-term productivity. I want to tell you that I don't believe that is true for a minute. Everything that we do here will impact our soils in a negative manner. From the minute construction starts, we'll have compaction. At some point when we decide to decommission this, we probably will have to, depending on the kind of supports, remove those supports, which will involve digging the post out, or could involve digging the post out, mixing topsoil and subsoil. We will have a variety of problems, roadways to contend with. All these things will negatively impact the productivity of our farm ground. And then we will have to, if in some part, we'll have, even if we graze these sheep out here, we have compaction and nutrient in areas where the animals will congregate. So we have a similar situation where the pipeline came through our place 10 years ago. Even to this day, we see a 20 bushel per acre yield loss in corn and a 10 bushel per acre yield loss in soybeans. So this project will not enhance the value of our productivity of our soils inside this. I think it's a bad idea. I don't think that it'll work out the way we've been told. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Jessica Harmeyer, you'll be after Susie.
Good evening, Board. My name is Susie Dean. I live at 1522 South Mill Creek Road, Greensburg. I understand the attractiveness of the economic boost to the families who have leased their access to, or have leased their acres to industrial solar. But in reality, there are many unknowns with industrial solar. With minimal proven historical data to back up Cobia's solar claims and promises, it is wise to review what true hard evidence we actually do have. Decatur County REMC provides the major percentage of electrical energy for rural Decatur County. Currently, as of yesterday, 11/5/24, reported by REMC, Decatur County has 6,752 memberships. Because solar has been promoted as the new energy of the future, doing their due diligence to obtain local data on benefits and challenges of solar panel energy in 2016, Decatur County REMC constructed an industrial solar pilot project of 20 acres. With 8 years of local data, what did REMC learn? Due to a local hailstorm, solar panels have already had to be replaced once. The output energy voltage has proven to be so low that there is no need to account for range fluctuations of output voltage from day to night or during inclement weather. Note, the energy provided by this pilot project is actually connected to the local grid to be available to local REMC members. Cobia Solar Project energy will not benefit local residents. The bottom line, the cost and inefficiency of the REMC solar pilot project did not justify return on investment, and the project proved to be a failure. Furthermore, even though the REMC solar project is a failure, it is also too expensive to decommission and return those acres to production farming. Decatur County RMC was also approached by an industrial solar company regarding an opportunity to partner as an additional energy provider. After consideration, this offer was turned down by REMC because solar energy is just too inefficient and will not provide energy cost savings to me or the other 6,751 Decatur County cooperative members. Note, Rush Shelby County REMC has also recently declined solar partnerships. It is my understanding that Decatur County REMC will continue to investigate other alternative energy sources to provide cost-efficient electricity for its members, and at this time, solar energy is not on that list. For these reasons, and in the interest of preserving prime Decatur County farm ground, I respectfully ask BZA to deny Cobia's request for a special exemption. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Jill Harmeyer, you'll be after Jessica.
I'm the last one from our group, so.
Okay.
So my name is Jessica Harmeyer, and I live at 4668 South County Road 950 West, Greensburg. And thank you once again for your time tonight. I would like to tie all of this together for the board and our fellow community residents. But first, I want to commend the concerned citizens who spoke this evening on fact and policy rather than emotions and opinions. As I listen to all your concerns, strengthened by references of our county's comprehensive plan, I am reminded of Policy 1 and 5, and it reads, "Protect the county's agricultural resources." While the county does not want to stop development in agricultural areas, they want to manage its location and growth. Therefore, in order to protect prime farmland, development should be limited and is designed to preserve as much prime farmland as possible. Policy 1 and 5 have a reoccurring message. Establish clear guidelines for approval of rezone from agricultural uses to non-agricultural uses that protect prime soils and minimize loss of productive agricultural uses. It also goes on to say, limit the amount of land taken out of agricultural production, with a focused growth approach where new significant development would be developed in and around existing cities and towns. I say all of this to drive home what the entire focus was of those committee members who wrote our comprehensive plan back in 2017. It was to ensure that our new development to rural county was compatible and posed no threat to public health, welfare, and continued to support our ag-related businesses. On page 76, it talks about interpretation. The comprehensive plan does not contain the actual decisions that should be made. However, it does serve as a reminder and provides guidance to our county's collective vision for the future development of this area and should be interpreted as such. I ask you to reflect on all of our concerns that your community members brought forth tonight. The proposed solar project not only goes against our comprehensive plan, but lacks to meet all 7 conditional use criteria. Approval would devalue the community and its rural residents who call this community home. Approving the industrial solar project goes against the grain, both literally and figuratively, of our community and its livelihood. And lastly, approval would confess a disregard of our heritage and violate the intentions of the comprehensive plan itself. Make the right decision tonight that not only impacts your local neighbors and community members today, but those for many generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, you'll be next, and then Lester Gurley will follow Joe.
Good evening, board, and good evening, community members. My name is Joe Harmeyer, and I live at 4668 South, 950 West. I really debated on getting up here tonight to speak against the project. Many of these landowners are folks I've worked with through my farming experiences and have supported our trucking business. They are neighbors, they're friends, and even mentors. Most of them truly run top-class farming operations, and I admire their family legacies. I'm here to share a very sobering fact, but first I want to share a personal side. My wife and I were not raised in the county, but we chose to live here. 10 years ago, we landed here quite literally because of the farm we live on, after a simple conversation on the back of a tailgate while putting in a seed corn test plot. We've poured our heart and soul into our property. We've dealt with the challenges of a failing old farmhouse. We brought home 3 beautiful babies to this house, and we are now finalizing plans to build our forever home next year. If this project is approved, we stand to be surrounded on all 3 sides. Essentially, no matter what direction we look, we'll see an industrial solar installation. If this project is approved, it will forever change the landscape of the place we chose to plant our roots. Cobia's proposed 7,000-acre project, ultimately a product of the current and now outgoing administration's push for electrification across this country, will compound an already existential problem we are facing right here at home. If you'll see the graph, according to the USDA Census of Agriculture, Decatur County has lost 31,000 acres, or 17% of our cropland, in the last 20 years. The average loss rate is almost 1,600 acres, or 1% per year. For reference, the Honda plant sits on 1,600 acres, and accounts for only 5% of the total lost acres. Tonight, we are debating on whether to accelerate that loss of cropland acres at a rate of over 4 times the average annual loss rate over the last 20 years. A yes vote on this decision will drive farmland prices even higher by decreasing the available supply of farmland and increase the demand of likewise acres. It will ultimately limit, if not completely eliminate, the ability of young and first-generation farmers to pursue land ownership. In closing, I want to express that I fully understand the value this project can create for the community through additional tax dollars. I commend economic development and their efforts to bring value to our county. I commend these landowners for taking a long, hard look at this and putting their names on the line. But what we all need to realize is that one of our county's greatest natural resources, our productive farm ground, is already under attack and quietly disappearing every year below our feet. Lastly, I want to challenge our elected officials at every level that if there is this vast amount of money being incentivized through one-sided federal government programs to fund these sort of campaigns, not just here, but all across the state, to take a stand against policies that steal one vital resource for another and deteriorate the very fabric of our community. I ask the board to preserve prime farmland and support locally balanced renewable initiatives and vote no on the proposed special exception application for Cobia Solar. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mike Stokes, you'll follow Lester.
I'm Lester Gurley. I live at 7378 West 480 South, County Road 480 South. You're wanting to take 7,000 acres of our best prime farm ground in Decatur County. There's many other farmers in this county that would love to farm this ground. When you break this down on the acres available, the biggest part of this 6,500 acres is only owned or operated by about 8 different families. Out of those 8 different families, there's only 3 of them that has a younger generation to continue on those farm ground. The others are just looking for a high dollar 401k plan to bail themselves out. Some of this ground is not even being farmed by these families anymore. They've sold out their parents' farm ground for themselves. And there's about 6 different families when it comes to Willis, Wallace Thompson, Bill Smiley, Stuart Correa. Those people would roll over in their graves if they knew what their boys was trying to do with their farm ground that they worked so hard to pay for so many years. There's other places to put this kind of solar energy without taking prime farm ground. You've got Jefferson Proving Grounds down there at Madison. You've got hundreds of acres of new warehouses that's been built around Indianapolis. You can put them solar panels on top of those warehouses without taking our prime farm ground. If these particular families don't want to continue farming this ground, I'm sure there's enough farmers in this county to take over that ground and farm it by themselves. So there's no need to destroy our farm ground for a personal gain of a few families. And the families that do have the younger generation to continue their farms onward, this is only going to give them money to go buy other farm ground to raise the prices against everybody else around here. That hurts and keeps our younger generation from getting into farming. There's no reason to be taking this kind of prime farm ground out of Decatur County for personal gain for certain families. Thank you.
Thank you, Lester. Mike Dorr, you'll follow Mike Stokes.
I'm Mike Stokes. I'm a retired school teacher. I taught at Decatur County Community Schools for 45 years. I'm going to speak about one parcel because that's really the only one that I know much about. And that's parcel 161209. And this is at 850 West and 100 South. This is 100 feet from the Bernie Fire Department. It's 100 feet from the Bernie Community Center. People gather at that community center every weekend. birthday parties, reunions, wedding receptions, craft fairs, meetings of all kinds. It's a voting center for Clay Township. It was busy all day yesterday. There are 3 or 4 tractor pulls at that facility every year. It attracts hundreds of people. So this is a road this is a site that is heavily traveled. I live just across the road. This would border me on 2 sides if this project were to go in. It would be 25 feet from my dining room window. I don't think anyone in here, including these people, would like to see this go in 25 feet from your dining room window. I got out and counted. There's 36 houses that border this parcel within 100 yards. 13 of those houses are within 100 feet of this parcel. So I'm not alone. This is bordered on the south by 100 South. It's a heavily traveled county road. All points to the west. Anyone going to Hope or Flat Rock, Edinburgh, Franklin, travel that road every day. Hundreds of cars a week. Anyone in Decatur County who gets sand or gravel from the Flat Rock quarries, those trucks travel that road every week. All of the people who congregate at the community center weekly and travel that road weekly are going to look out past these 4-foot trees that they're going to plant and wonder how on earth we allowed this to happen. How could we allow this to happen in a county so steeply entrenched in agriculture and 4-H and FFA? How could this happen? Bernie's a small town. Much like many small rural towns, it's seen better days. But in the last 2 or 3 years, there have been 4 or 5 houses that have been renovated. The little town is trying to make a comeback. If this is enabled to envelop Bernie, it'll be a death sentence for Bernie. Very few people will ever want to come and live anywhere near or in Bernie. So I would hope that for the sake of Bernie and the other small towns out in the county that are being under attack, I again would hope no would be my vote on this, just like it was in the northern part of the county earlier this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ted White, you'll follow Michael Dora.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dora, and I have farmed most of my life, and I live in Decatur County. I own farmland, and I've rented farmland and agricultural facilities, and I now rent land and facilities to others. Over the years, I have signed many contracts upholding private property rights with nothing more than a handshake. It has been my bond when securing the use of another person's private property. Among other things, private property rights include the right to delegate, rent, or sell any portion of the rights by exchange or gift at whatever price the owner determines. If I am not allowed to buy some rights from you and you're not allowed to sell rights to me, private property rights are reduced. There are 3 basic elements of private property rights, and they are exclusivity of rights to choose the use of the resource, exclusivity of the rights to the service of the resource, and rights to exchange the resource at mutual agreeable terms. If any of these 3 basic elements are reduced or eliminated, one or both of us have lost our private property rights. The ownership of my property is no longer my right of ownership. Nearly 89 years ago, on November 18th, 1935, a group of Decatur County farmers met at the Decatur County Courthouse to discuss how to bring electricity to the unserved rural areas of the county. Not many in this room tonight ever remember being without electricity, but it was a game changer. Over time, so many things became powered with electricity, and life became simpler and easier. Years before, farmers raised a certain amount of hay and oats to power travel and farming practices with horses. Then came the internal combustion engine and the need for gasoline and diesel fuel. Many farmers drilled natural gas wells as a form of energy. Later, the production of ethanol from number 2 yellow corn became a game changer in the area. That also created pushback because of a worry we could not meet that new demand and feed our hogs, cattle, and chickens at the same time. With technology and a shift in crop rotation, corn prices did not go through the roof, and the American farmer met the demand for more energy from his fields. Now there's a process by which we can help meet our sensational appetite for electric power. 1 acre of solar panels can power an electric car 80 times farther per year than an acre of corn converted to ethanol. We should consider progress when it is beneficial and not fight it because it's different. Let's embrace our neighbors' property rights who want to legally lease their land and transition to a legal way of producing energy as they always have. Please support renewable energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Pittman, you'll follow Ted White. Is Ted still here? Okay, Doug Pittman. David Israel.
One thing I wanted to talk about was the amount of numbers of money that this could pull down into Decatur County. Hopefully that we can share that if we do get a chance to get that. A lot of fire departments in Decatur County don't get hardly any money at all. We went through the state. The county has helped us through local option income tax that comes out of the factory's paychecks. But the one thing that we really need to do is get behind the tax thing. I know I was listening to it on the radio the other day, but we do need to get the volunteer fire departments up where they need to be. Because a lot of us only get, and I'm a township trustee and a firefighter both, but you can't quite get it on $25,000. You're not going to have hardly anything. So don't know where we're going to go, how we're going to do it, but if this will help us in the county, all the fire departments in the county, that's what we're looking for, to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Wilmer. Is Bill here? Fritz Roof. Knocking him out. Jason Kirkhoff. Bonnie Robbins. Patty Lang Fisher. Is that what it is?
No, that's tonight's.
This is tonight's list.
There's a date at the top.
Yes, this is tonight's list. Vicky Fee, Ron Moore. Okay, Vicky. Ron?
Yes, my name is Ron Moore. I live at 1269 East County Road, 1000 South in Westport. And this evening I'll be speaking on how Cobia doesn't meet the conditional use of special exception number 2 of the voting and evaluation sheet. Conditional use, especially exception number 2 states, the use will be designed, constructed, operated, maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity and shall not change the essential character of the same area. Cobia states the project's anticipated usefulness life is at 40 years. And it also says the years represent as temporary land use and will not consume land for agriculture. They go on to say this project supports agricultural land uses in the area and supports agricultural use for future generations. Well, keeping this in mind, how is this conditional use criteria reads? I want to reference another excerpt from Decatur County's comprehensive plan. The plan calls for the most productive farmland to be preserved and protected. It's just that simple. So let me put this in perspective. The average lifespan of a person in Indiana is approximately 75 years old. We got this from the cdc.gov, and that's 47% of their lifespan. In addition, the average age of a farmer today is approximately 56 years old. So the definition of temporary is something that is not permanent or lasts only a short time. Almost half of someone's lifespan is not the definition of temporary. And in the 20 years when that farmer is no longer around, 20 years of potential farmland production is lost and tied up in solar lease. Lost to the next generation who went to college, studied ag, or a related profession, and is now looking to set new roots back home in Decatur, Indiana. This project is not harmonious and goes against our comprehensive plan. Korea once again does not meet the conditional use special exemption number 2, so we ask that you please deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer McNeely. James Nelson, you'll follow Jennifer.
So, here we are again. First of all, we have family property that's going to be adjacent, and by adjacent, I mean right across the county road from one of the areas in the Cobia project. Not concerned at all about anything about that project being that close whatsoever. Policy 10 of the comprehensive plan, if I've heard that once over the last, year, I've heard it a dozen times. It mentions alternative energy, which solar is. It mentions wind as well. It also mentions methane collection. And in January of last year, a methane collection facility, a commercial facility not owned by the farmer whose farm it's on or whose farm it's connected with, was approved by this board. So as far as I'm concerned, policy 10 is like a horse out of the barn. We've already set a precedent that alternative fuel is okay because that's been approved. This is a big auditorium. Lots of people in blue shirts, lots of people in yellow shirts, and lots of empty seats behind me as well. If this place was full, and everybody had a yellow shirt, and everybody took that side of this issue, we're still looking at 90+% of this community that didn't even care one way or another to show up. So when we talk about the majority's for, the majority's against, the majority wants this, the majority wants that, the majority's not even here. I just want to make that point. Also, I heard something interesting earlier tonight about the comprehensive plan and the ordinances and how they're establishing clear guidelines. I'm a little confused, so maybe they're not quite so clear, because what I've heard over the last 15 years is the message that whatever it takes to farm. You need a bigger tractor, get a bigger tractor. Sure, it might damage the roads, but it's farming, so it's all okay. You want to have some animals instead of row crops to diversify your operation? Sure, that's okay. You want to confine them in a building instead of have them on the ground? Sure, that's okay. You don't need to come before us unless you want to be too close to a setback. You want to concentrate that and make it even more animals? Not a problem. We don't need to know about that either. So there's been, to me, a clear message sent that whatever a farmer needs to do to keep his operation viable for his family and that future generation of that family, regardless of whether they're college students or come back to farm, is okie dokie. These farmers just want to do that same thing. They want to keep their assets. They want to look out for the future generations in the way they deem best. Why are we micromanaging what they want to do now? And I will say one more thing, if I can. Lester's right. It's about the economy. It's about land no longer being available to lease or rent. That's the crux of this situation. The problem is it wasn't created here, and it wasn't created just because of solar or alternative fuel. This is a decades in the making problem that agriculture faces when you who are in it, behind me and in front of me, were challenged with get big or get out. And anything that's taken out means somebody can't get bigger right next door. That's the problem. I support the solar. I support these guys wanting to do what they need to do, and gals, for the future generations of their family, because they own it. Thank you.
Thank you. James Nelson.
Hello, my name's James Nelson, 6916 North Old US Highway 421, St. Paul. I've lived in this community 20 years, maybe a little more. I support the local farmer the best I can. What you're doing, all right, let me go at this a different way. This is about money. These people are investing $939 million. How do they plan on getting paid back? Taxes. They say, no, we're going to be paying you taxes. Hold it here. First of all, somebody's going to come up and say, oh, we want a tax abatement. You gave it to Honda. Honda, after 10 years, came up, oh, we want an improvement, abatement on taxes. Another 5 years. How long's Honda been out here? 15, almost 20 years. How long have they paid full taxes? Maybe 2 years. These people don't plan on paying their taxes like that. And also, the fence. They plan on putting up 71 miles of fence or 74. I'm sorry, I didn't move to the country to look at a metal fence painted green. I have trees. They want to plant trees, 2,000 or so. You know how long that's going to take for them to look right? 20 years. You know, in 20 years, they're going to be rebuilding their solar plant. How much of your equipment, how many of these buildings last 20 years that you don't have to remodel? And the environmental impact, steel rust, zinc, everything else. And the removal of the concrete when these people say they're done. Who is going to pay for that? I'm not, because I'm not going to be here. But you know, this company, they ain't going to be here either, because they're going to be already sold out and gave it to somebody else. This is not right. They need to find out something else. Quit taking my land from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Straka. Valerie Hayes will be after Daniel.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Straka. I'm from the Land and Liberty Coalition. We're a project of the Conservative Energy Network. The last gentleman said something very interesting, and in fact was going to be the crux of what I was going to talk about today. He asked for you to not allow companies to take his land away from him. No one here from Cobia Solar is trying to take his land from him. There's a group of landowners behind me today that I'm here to support that want to use their land. Not someone else's land, not the county's land. They own that land. I was on my way here today, and I was listening to a podcast, and I heard an interesting story about a small family out in Cuba. And that family had a small mango tree outside of their house. I can imagine that their property was probably about quarter acre, probably smaller. And they were told by their government that they could not take a mango from that tree and feed their family, or take a mango from that tree and use it to sell so they could buy some food for their family or keep up with costs at home. You here, if you deny this project like you have other projects, you're doing the same thing that the government of Cuba was doing to that family. You're denying a family the opportunity to use their land, to use their property the way that they feel, so that they can feed their family, so that they could have a better life for themselves. We live in a great country. A lot of us out here voted yesterday. I know I did. I know a lot of us were very happy about the election results. I know I was. But if we do not allow these people to continue to use their land, we're going to end up like other countries like Cuba and other places that don't have any respect for their citizens and their private property. So I asked the Decatur BZA, I asked the people of the citizens of Decatur County to respect the private property of their neighbors and allow them to use their land and allow for this project to be built. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Valerie Hayes. Is Valerie still here? Okay, that will exhaust our list that have signed up tonight. Are there any further folks in the crowd that would like to make any comments? Please come to the microphone if you could. State your name.
Kaylin Lindsay from Sandusky. I sit and listen to these three young fellows here who are from very prominent agricultural families giving a very elegant presentation. If they were in a sales course class, they would have probably got an A+. But something that just got swept underneath the rug in a recent survey, 85.5% of the Decatur County Farm Bureau members are against this. And I don't think this board can ignore that. With that, I'll butt out. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Lester Gurley again. This is set up as solar energy. Is this an LLC corporation? No place on this screen today has it said anything about an LLC corporation.
We can ask that on a rebuttal. Anything further from the community? Seeing none, we'll allow time for rebuttal.
So we've run through, close to the audio here.
Thank you.
Certainly, we recognize that your meeting is to end at 10 p.m.
That's correct.
So certainly, I mean, we have a list of the topics that have been run across. I'm certainly happy to confer and bring up subject matter experts to run through the various topics that related to, let's say, fire safety. The LLC question, I mean, that's easy to answer. On the opening screen, we mentioned the 2021 creation of the Cobia Solar LLC. So that, yes, for the record, Cobia Solar LLC does exist with the Indiana Secretary of State's office. But I'm curious how the board wants us to manage the remaining 30 minutes of this evening.
So I think if there are immediate topics that you can cover quickly, I think we'll entertain those. There'll be additional time at following meetings for more in-depth information that you need to share.
Do you anticipate more than 30 minutes to respond to these?
Well, I would say certainly some of them
Okay.
are very detailed and really would be best as one-on-one conversations. We can reach out to individuals who have, I mean, with this project, for example, we've had maybe 6 direct mailings that have gone out. Now, granted, if someone is a renter and not an owner, there could be some delay in the post reaching them. So we do have notes on folks, for example, that we're happy to address individually, and certainly we don't want to avoid speaking to the room and addressing each topic, so the group benefits from that same conversation. So probably what I would suggest here is we bring up Mr. Aaron Miller to speak to fire safety, Mr. Aaron Caudle to speak to a little bit more about solar and agrivoltaics, and some other items that are very more general and broad. From the topics. I don't believe you've heard from anyone from Baker Tilly, so probably you're not ready for additional in-depth testimony on taxes.
Yeah, so there's more information that we gained today on that topic that the board needs to digest and spend time before we're really prepared to ask any direct questions to that. So Debbie, Missy, are there any topics specifically that you wrote down that you feel like we should address tonight? Or is there anything from the board specifically that you would like a response for tonight?
I think you're right with addressing items such as the fire safety. If you've got a subject matter expert that would like to address some of the things that were said, certainly I think it makes sense to utilize them while they're here.
And definitely the team appreciates that. I mean, I would imagine we could use the full 30 minutes just covering fire safety. It's a very complex and detailed topic. Probably want to dedicate, 5 minutes or so to that. But let's start there, and then we can work and kind of curate those larger hunks of topics to address, and work to find that subject matter expert to talk through those. And then we'll see where we land at 10. And certainly we're also interested to talk about, are you anticipating us coming back in 30 days for your December 4th meeting, or certainly looking at a future meeting. But we can see where we are in 30 minutes.
I think in light of the information gathered tonight, the information we still need to digest, I think this seems like an adequate point that we can reconvene. I think the December meeting, is that an appropriate time to reconvene with the rebuttal?
They definitely will be carrying over on the agenda. It may determine, I'm not sure, the meeting times. There was talk about additional meeting times on some of the agreements and the like. So I think maybe we can, within the next week, figure out if it'll be appropriate to come back publicly or let it pend until the next month. So I'm not sure when those meetings will happen regarding the various agreements.
Yeah, and so are we, I think if we're allowing the record to reflect that we're being continued, we're open to that.
Yes, you're absolutely.
Yes.
And so glad to memorialize that in the record. And then in terms of timing, excuse me, I think we're describing, we may pace off when that other county meeting is set. And Wayne, you're in direct contact with Mr. Ortman, is that right?
Yes, and Mr. Ortman did reach out. We're waiting, we provided dates starting, I believe, this Friday all the way through the 19th of this month, just identifying hunks of time on particular dates that happened to work for the project team, certainly working to hear back. I don't think it was mentioned for the record this evening, but we're aware of a letter that came in from Ms. Brianna Schroeder, attorney representing some of the land owners in Cobia. I believe that letter mentioned something about a bus tour. And so, I mean, certainly we're happy to assist in facilitating that. Certainly we'll strive to help that occur prior to December 4th. I mean, with the holiday and then a subsequent holiday following up. I would imagine it's going to be a little challenging to find transportation to facilitate that, but it's definitely something on our radar.
Okay.
And so I guess, Wayne, are we comfortable leaving it uncertain? Is that, I mean, are we going to pace off of when is that county meeting set? What is talked about at that meeting? And allow that dialogue to get a little further along before we've committed to it? That meeting?
I would say for the benefit of this room, we need a date certain continuance of this matter. So everybody has a full, clear understanding that the next hearing, the continuance of this hearing of Cobia Solar will appear on such, for example, your December 4th agenda, date and time, whatever your typical calendar facilitates.
Yeah, I think at this point, and Missy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're comfortable continuing this topic to the December 4th meeting, at which time, if there is still additional information that we need to gather, we may continue to table that at that time. But if you need a certain date to work off of, that December 4th meeting would be the next official BZA meeting, if that suffices.
Excellent, thank you.
And in the meantime, the county will continue to work through the process of the petition and the application.
Fantastic, thank you again.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So that concludes the information we have for tonight. I will look for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second. Moved and seconded that we adjourn, and that will be the conclusion of the meeting.